evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Movie Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host, Gina Versa.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Good to be back for one last podcast of the year with my co-host.
Yeah, 2021. We did it. We made it. Now, as we
But
all
like 2020
know,
again.
2020.2.5, and then 2022, which just sounds like 2020 part 2. I don't know. Years aren't the real problem. It is systemic issues in society that bring us down to these not great places in the world. But what was great was the movie output of 2021, I would argue anyways.
Movies are back.
The movies are back until COVID makes us shut down again.
Not thinking about that.
But maybe we should have government officials enact some stay-at-home policies and also vaccination policies and a bunch of other stuff to make people safer. Just a thought. It'd be great if someone did that, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're not here to talk about our left-wing agendas, although we definitely have them here if you listen to our podcast.
They should have known by now.
Yeah, if you were like here and you're like a Republican, like thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Don't tell me or I'll block you. But we're gonna talk about our favorite movies of 2021. Neil Blomkamp. That was a bummer. Yeah, I said I was gonna start when we were planning this episode. I said I was gonna start with an anti-NFT rant, just so you know.
I do
anti-NFT.
Yeah, I remember when you found out. I was trying to explain to you what they were.
Yeah,
and it's like fake things that don't have meaning, but we put money behind them.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because then you start talking to these like tech bros and they're like, well, you know, it's like the same thing as like the real economy, but it's all digital. And I'm like, well, you know, the real economy is also made up, as many people have come to realize during the pandemic. So, you know,
that it is
stuff to think about. But again, we're going to talk about positive things. Our top 10 movies of the year. Gene, do you think it was a good year for movies?
I believe so. I mean, just having blockbuster films back and having excuse me, having more independent films and just having the theaters open just automatically makes it a better year than last year, I would say.
And I would say that I'm probably not going back to a theater for a while. So like some things I didn't get to check out before the end of the year. The Tragedy of Macbeth, directed by Joel Cohen, shot by one of my favorite cinematographers, Bruno Del Bonell. I did not get to watch. It's coming to Apple TV. The cases are going up. I think California just peaked over 5 million cases, so I won't be going back to the theater for a minute here.
Let's if you're not comfortable being back, definitely don't go back.
Yeah, go get your vaccinations, get your boosters. Check out our episode with Soren Howe, who helped walk us through some of the vaccination stuff back last year in March. Bummer we're still in this mess, not gonna lie. But movies are great. I'm going to eventually release a list of all the movies I enjoyed on my Letterboxd. That will include some TV shows I want to highlight, because on Letterboxd, we talked about it last time with our buddy Brandon on the Christmas episode. Letterboxd, I think, is just a great way to like help recommend stuff to as many people as possible that also use the app. That's why some TV shows might make their way there. I will not be listing those TV shows on here because I'm going to stick to movies, stuff I either saw in a theater or stuff that was just a movie and not a television show, because this is not Letterboxd, this is our podcast. And we also got a lot of responses for people's favorite movies of the year. Top 5 I asked for everyone. Probably not going to read out everyone's, but I'll do my best to try to get to everyone's, because I think we still have a couple coming in too. Gene, are you ready to go? Because I feel like we can kind of just jump into this episode.
Yeah, let's actually let me get water.
Yeah. Don't die.
I had something stuck in my throat this morning.
Was it a frog?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, for those viewing this is my cup of coffee, which is multiple espresso shots with water on top of it. That's the type of year it's been. So just worth noting that.
Okay.
You know what? Let me start by reading some people's favorite movies of the year. So we asked on the Waffle Press, what are your top 5 favorite movies of the year? Our fellow friend co-host Matt Garingo said they didn't justify enough for a best of list, but the top 5 movies they're willing to go to bat for: West Side Story, Candyman, Cop Shop, Oxygen, Eternals. Now, I just recorded the next retrospective with Matt, so I asked them about this, and they also said that they're really the movies that they felt didn't get the just acclaim that they felt they deserved, not so much the top 5 best of the year. But then Matt also stressed that West Side Story was the best movie of the year, and we'll talk a little bit about that more.
Last
Carlos
duel.
Alonso Morales, excuse me. Wow, it's early here. He also came in and, of course, guest friend of the show. Check out our episode with him. He said top 5: Night House, Last Night in Soho, Encanto, The Green Knight, and The Last Duel. Last Duel, gang. Last Duel is not on my top 10, but I got to see 2 Ridley Scott movies this year, back to back. Thank you, world, for letting that happen.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Because Ridley Scott's a fucking maniac, and he pumps out movies like some people pump out, I don't know, stuff that they pump out. I had no direction for that metaphor. Jeannie, are you ready to go? How's your throat?
Yeah,
Good?
yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Do I need to drop off some tea later?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. All right. Would you like to go first? You want me to go first? We could do like
Sure.
1 and 1, and we'll just keep going.
Sure.
If I have something similar, I'll hold off until I get to it, or I'll talk about it with you, and we'll play it by ear. Okay. So
Okay.
Go for it. What's your number 10?
Number 10, I think I would go with SpiderMan, No Way Home.
Okay, obviously I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But, so Cameron, you're gonna owe me an IMAX ticket. Anyways,
just to prove it, you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But I should say that a lot of people have been saying it is ridiculously good. Even people that like were
Don't like
maybe
MCU.
lukewarm on previous Spider-Man films in the MCU. But here, sorry, go ahead. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so No Way Home I felt was a good Spider-Man film, first and foremost. In terms of the MCU, it really makes itself beholden only to Spider-Man, which we've had some complaints in the past that they feel too chokeholded by Iron Man, by other heroes. And this one really gets back to the basics, which I really appreciated. And it's just crowd pleasing. It was nice to see with a crowd when things were kind of safer. But I found myself really enjoying it and just very giddy watching it. So that's all I'll say to you without spoiling the whole movie.
Okay. All right. Good to know. I really do think it's interesting though that like something about this one really tickled people's funny bone. And maybe that's just a good sign of the filmmaking, you know. But I think there's some big things that might have tipped people over into the very positive side of things. But I'll say this: I'm looking forward to it more now from hearing from many people. Message me because I think people just know I like Spider-Man, so they're like, "Have you seen it yet? Have you seen it yet?" And then other screenwriting pals and mutuals were like, "Hey, I'm interested in your thoughts about this because I was surprised in a positive way." And that has me more excited than any leaks that we knew going into it, any trailers, which I actually thought looked kind of fun. And even pal Dan Doherty was like, "You know what? I think you're gonna like it."
Hope that Dan's doing well.
Yeah. Shout out to Dan. And of course, from him and many other people that recognize Far From Home is the worst film ever made, that they even enjoyed this new one. So thumbs up. That's enough of my rants. All right. My number 10. M. Night Shyamalan's Old.
That's a good one.
Loved Old so much. M. Night Shyamalan is one of those filmmakers who directs like nobody's business, I think his writing is actually much better than it gets credit for. I think his dialogue's a little goofy sometimes, but I think his ideas are so well communicated visually. There are sequences in this movie that I found very moving without dialogue. I think the scene on the beach between the parents towards the end of the film was really moving. And for a while, I probably would have said it was my favorite film of the year. The back half of 2021 had some bangers. Was Old on your list as well?
No, it wasn't actually.
Okay.
So
I won't keep asking for every single time. I just want to make sure
no, it's all right.
we don't cross the streams too much or anything like that. Right. You're number 9.
Number 9, I'd go with Evangelion.
Oh yeah.
Rise Upon a Time.
And you had a podcast with our buddy Terrence about
Yeah.
that too, right?
Yeah, me and Terrence reviewed the new one. Find it at You Cannot Give Up. So that was pretty fun. And Evangelion is a very satisfying conclusion to the whole franchise, to this mini story that we're presented with. And I just was very happy, even though the ending kind of reminded me of Harry Potter. But as an Evangelion fan, it was very heartwarming to see these characters grow up, to see them age, and well, won't spoil it too much, but to see them like move past a lot of the issues that they had. So yeah, I was pretty satisfied with it.
All right. And as someone who has not seen any Evangelion yet, how would you guide me through this franchise? Do I start with the show, obviously, and then do I just jump to this movie, or are there movies I have to watch before this?
Yeah, you have to watch 3 other films.
Okay.
You don't really need to watch the show to watch the movies, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it because you and many others have been hyping up Evangelion for like a long time.
Yeah.
So I that'll probably be on the 2022 docket. I'll be talking about that again. My number 9, and then I'll read off some more tweets. Bad Trip, the Eric Andre movie, and Lil Howry movie, and of course our beloved actress whose name I did not remember off the top of my head, so let me check. Tiffany Haddish, who is great in the movie. Fucking fantastic. It was directed by Kitao Sakurai, who has done a lot of stuff with Eric Andre, I believe, and it's a mockumentary film prank show that, I mean, you and I were both fans of it, but like it's a very like distinct vibe that is never really mean-spirited, and I think showcases American like people at their best, because like it's some really like embarrassing, like heinous shit that happens fictionally to these people. And then like the people, like the response the people, the prankies get are like really empathetic, and like they're coming to like help the people that like are in need in their fake pranks. And I just found that like really moving. It's also very funny. I think the gorilla joke is maybe a step too far, but like it's also just fucking hysterical. I think it's one of the funniest movies of like the last decade alone. But it's on Netflix. I'd recommend everyone watch it because it's one of the feel good movies of the year. All right. At Billy Jarrett Ugg, our boy Billy said Pig, Raging Fire, Matrix Resurrections, Malignant, Wrath of Man. Thumbs up is what I'll say right now.
Love Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man is not on my top 10, but it's a fucking banger. It's one of those movies I saw and I was just like, fuck yeah, that's a fucking movie. Guy Ritchie Hive, let's go. At Ahil Dayani, old film Twitter pal, 14 Peaks, Nothing is Impossible. Sherney, Malignant, Tick Tick Boom, Titan. I did watch Tick Tick Boom. Thumbs up. I did not think I'd like it.
I need to watch that.
It's good. Andrew Garfield gives a great performance. It's not like a runaway hit, but it's good. It is a solid movie, and it's very touching. It was clearly made with a lot of love and even some talent. So good job, everyone. Our boy Brandon Swafford at number 5, In the Heights, Mitchell's versus the Machines, Bad Trip, The Suicide Squad, And again, Spider-Man No Way Home. If you're curious about his and Gene's thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home, check out our previous episode prior to Christmas, where we also talk about Venom and what Venom 3 should be.
You just dipped out too in that episode.
Yeah. And Venom 3, maybe some Andrew Garfield action from what we're hearing in the trades. Who knows? That's not a scoop. That's just what the film Twitter tells me. But all right, Gene, you're number 8.
Number 8, I would go with Nightmare Alley.
Ooh, I didn't get to see it. Please tell me everything about it.
Yeah, so another Del Toro film, and it's basically his version of Freaks. That's what I kind of felt, even though this is a remake of what's another adaptation of the book Nightmare Alley. And this is such a gothic film from Del Toro. It's overly long, maybe to a fault, but I certainly didn't mind. It's a macabre sort of tale from him, and just the whole cast is just electric in it, and it just really goes to town in terms of having Del Toro do another period piece. And it's just he just wanted to get lost in that world. So I was very appreciative of, we got another Del Toro movie. Was it marketed or successful? Probably not, but we did get another Del Toro movie.
Yeah, like at the very least, like because I've seen the mixed reviews, but I also saw mixed reviews for Crimson Peak, and that movie's basically a masterpiece. So like, I'm really looking forward to it. I have heard like unanimously that it is a little long though, even from people that are like, it's one of the best movies of the year. But so that probably doesn't bode well. But yeah, no one better for atmosphere and evoking the pulp sensibilities that we like with the genre stuff than Guillermo del Toro. Really looking forward to that. Speaking of pulp, my number 8 is Paul Verhoeven's return to the cinema, Benedetta, the horny nun movie, as it is called.
The horny nun movie. Wow.
Yeah, but it is also much more than a horny nun movie. It is a movie about power, faith, how one has to survive in institutions. It also takes place during a plague, and it was filmed before the outbreak of COVID-19. Little weird to watch now. So it's one of those movies that accidentally is of the moment, where it's like, how do you exist in a world where institutions and faith might guide your perspective and ability to connect with other people in life? Well, a plague is happening, and are people in power paying enough attention and making enough movements to kind of safeguard society? Probably not. It's weird that history keeps repeating itself like this, even now. But it's fantastic. Paul Verhoeven is kind of known as like a sort of a horn dog director, and like that's true, but he also is like a director that understands like the joy of cinema. Like he makes films that tend to be very fun. I wouldn't say something like Elle is very fun, but it is a great film. It's kind of amazing that he was nominated in like the Academy Awards for that film. I'm very happy about that still. Don't think Benedetta's getting that recognition though, because religious stuff tends to be too controversial. We can't have that. We can't have controversial religious stuff. That's ridiculous.
Well, but wasn't First Reformed?
First Reformed, yeah, but First Reformed is not like, I mean, Paul Schrader is also like a horn dog, but he's also like weird on Facebook posts. And I don't think Paul Verhoeven is weird publicly. I don't know if he's weird behind the scenes. I just
hopefully not.
Hopefully not, because he's like one of the best to do it. But First Reformed is also like, which is a great movie, and I would argue better than Benedetta. Although Benedetta, I would argue, is better than The Card Counter, which is not on my top 10, but is a great film, and I recommend everyone to watch. Whereas First Reformed is kind of like, how do you live in a world that kind of is telling you that like, hey, we're like running out of time, and that like we're not doing anything about like the impending doom that is kind of lingering in the horizon. Like we all see it coming, we all know things aren't working. Whereas Benedetta is kind of like it's the very premise is a little more raunchy. It is also based on historical events. Sister Benedetta was like a real person, and like these are like historical events with the skewed perspective of Verhoeven, like the idea of like religion is something that can guide people in terms of like faith. Like faith is not a bad thing. Religious institutions might be, but I think it's a film that understands the difference between that. And I would argue Paul Verhoeven does as well. This year I read his book on Jesus of Nazareth, which is fantastic, and he's not a guy who's religious. He just finds Jesus fascinating and refers to him as like a historical figure, So yeah, Benedetto's great. I could talk about it forever. It's fantastic. But Gene, you're number 7, so I don't just start talking about like RoboCop and shit next.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about RoboCop.
We could talk a lot about RoboCop.
Yeah. Probably go with The Suicide Squad.
Ooh, okay.
Salt that together, thanks to Beyond Fest. And the second viewing, first viewing was a little frustrating. I'll disclose that for whatever reason. But that second viewing, I was like really jazzed by it. It's James Gunn at his most James Gunn in terms of what he was able to do. And I think DC is maybe a better fit for him than Marvel, huh? A little bit.
We will see for Guardians
Peacemaker?
3. Peacemaker, I'm actually really looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see. It feels like, I know there's a lot of controversy around Warner Brothers, and rightfully so, given how certain producers have handled things, but that does kind of seem like to be the last bastion of like Hollywood creativity on like
in a weird way, yeah.
budget. Yeah. So like, I think there's another movie that's going to pop up on both of our lists that's kind of evidence of that. I don't know, things are complicated. But yeah, sorry, Suicide Squad, go ahead.
That's all right. And yeah, just the characters were just so comic booky, like just having King Shark in there, amazing. Ratcatcher too. Just characters are, it's like Mongal, it's like no one knows who that is, but just the fact that you could have them in there. And it's just funny too, like I love the bit with Milton where they don't know who that is, and he just died helping them. Such a sweet, mean-spirited film. So it's just such a heart, it's like one of those like sweet and sour candies.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Because it is very crass, and it doesn't feel like a film that's just a comedy or an action movie or etc. I think it's the best action James Gunn's ever done. I was a big fan of it as well. It is also not in my top 10, but I do own it now, and it is a film that I've been like casually revisiting and rewatching because it is thoroughly entertaining. And I hope they keep making Suicide Squads, because this one was really good, and the premise is like one of the best premises to premises to come out of like comic book history. So shout out to John Ostrander, who kind of created like this idea of the Suicide Squad.
Great writer.
Yeah, his run is tons of fun. I've been checking it out online, and so thumbs up. Go check that out. Some more responses. Let's see. Wrong tab. My bad. At D Benedetto Ryan said number 1, No Way Home. Number 2, Dune. 3, Prisoners of the Ghostland. 4, Titan. 5, Godzilla versus Kong. I think we're both positive on Godzilla versus Kong still. We had a lot of fun doing that roundtable episode with Matt Garingo and Shaq Shaquille Lambert. So go check that out. Tons of fun. Prisoners of the Ghostland, which I also talked a little bit about after our Sundance episode. Thumbs up. Also not on my list. But yeah, see what I mean? Spider-Man No Way Home is like making lots of lists. So something tells me that it might be worth checking out sooner than later. We shall see. I gotta be honest, one of my plans was to go like after the new year to the theater to watch it. And now I'm like, I'll probably just pay for streaming. And it's not even the movie's fault at this point. So at Film Booth, Ben, this is unlikely to change by the end of the week. So West Side Story, The Matrix Resurrections, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Titan, Licorice Pizza. I love the love for Titan. That's what I will say now. And Licorice Pizza.
Titan lovers out there.
Yeah. I did not watch Licorice Pizza yet. So
okay.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
Still have a chance to watch it.
I do. Yeah. We'll see when cases die down, and if they stop pulling it from theaters for SpiderMan releases.
Yeah.
It's weird that no one's talking about these movies getting pulled because of Spider-Man. Whatever. Sorry. Number 7. Did you give number 7 already? That was Suicide Squad?
I just gave mine.
Okay. Number 7 for me is Dune. Denis Villeneuve's Part 1. No, I still don't think it's like a masterpiece, but like Jesus, talk about like blockbuster spectacle. I've that's one of the most like entertaining theater experiences and home viewing experiences I had, because I saw it both in both formats. And it's like, I don't know, I think we don't give credit to when spectacle is done really well. I think people think like, oh, I need like style or substance. It's like, well, style tends to be substance, when it's done like well. It's not just throwing shit at the screen. It's like, it's a very calculated, very moving picture with vast landscapes and that take full advantage of like the IMAX format. Also, a fun fact, it was shot digitally by cinematographer Greg Fraser and then transposed onto a film print for added film grain and then like reprocessed that way.
Wow.
Which gave it like this interesting texture. And I don't know, I found that really
It's
interesting.
pretty cool.
Yeah, right. Like you can do different things like with the medium. But yeah, I don't know. Really great. A lot of people talked about Dune. So go, I mean, you've all probably seen it by now. Like, I don't know. It's good. Go watch it. All right, Gene, you're next up.
Quiet Place Part 2.
Interesting. Have not seen it yet.
Yeah, I was really a fan of these films. I love the first one by John Krasinski, and the whole cast is great. This one reminded me of even more so of The Last of Us, which I think we like the first one. You haven't played the second one, but
I have played the second one.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And I think it's both better and worse than it gets credit for.
All right.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, Quiet Place Part 2, I was finding myself very much enjoying the cinematography in it and just the sound design. I mean, these are such well-crafted movies in terms of like especially sound design, because they really have to make that a point in the film. But I was just enjoying the story and then just being in this world, but also just the heart of this film is just like the kids and seeing them interact, and the child actors are just really great in it, and just the family, you're really rooting for them in this post-apocalyptic world. So Quiet Place Part 2.
I like the first one a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking.
It was almost a Cloverfield movie.
Yeah, when they tried to make Cloverfield sequels happen regularly, and then everyone saw the Cloverfield paradox. Anyways, number 6 for me is Malignant.
Yeah.
The James Wan genre masterpiece, which you think starts off as a spooky haunted house ghost story movie, which he could basically do in his sleep by now. We all know that. And it becomes something else entirely. Now, I will not talk about this film any further, because if you know what happens, you know what happens. If you don't, holy fucking shit, go watch it immediately. It is
wild
one of the
ride.
few films I genuinely regret not watching in a theater, because the turns this movie takes, I shit you not, every like 10 to 15 minutes, but like by the halfway point, I just started like gasping. I don't gasp during movies. I'm not like a gasper, like a movie has to be like really get me to like react, especially like in a public place, like some movies did on this list later. But like Malignant, I was just like at home by myself, and I was like, oh, just like, oh my, like what is happening? But it in like a fun way, not like a what were they thinking, although there's a little bit of that. It pays off in spades. It's part giallo, part schlock, all love to the genre stuff. Go watch it. It's tons of fun. It is not The Shining. It is, just go knowing that it's more Sam Raimi than The Shining. There you go.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Didn't make my list, but very much enjoyed Malignant.
Okay, good. Let me see. All right, let me read out a couple more. Here you go. Dan Doherty again. At Cold Take Artist. No Time to Die. Old. Come on. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Spider-Man No Way Home. Again, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Cool.
Come on is another one I didn't catch yet. It's directed by Mike Mills. It's a black and white film starring Joaquin Phoenix. It's apparently very good, and that's I haven't seen it yet. Sorry. But next up, that's your number 5, right, Gene?
Mhm.
All right, what do you got?
I have No Time to Die.
Okay, me exactly mine too.
Oh,
We did
nice.
not talk about this beforehand. No Time to Die is fucking great. I'll go ahead because I just talked about Malignant.
No, sorry. Um, yeah, No Time to Die, I thought was a great send off to Bond, that franchise, that story. I still love that ending shot in the ending line, just having his love interest say Bond, James Bond, iconic, and then start playing Louis Armstrong's We Had All the Time in the World. Great all timer ending, and just I was just really glad to finally see this movie. It got delayed so many times. Delayed when it started filming, delayed during the pandemic twice, and the wait was worth it. We certainly talked a lot about this movie on one of the podcasts and with our friend Justin, and it's just just a great send off and very and very well written. And in terms of a spy movie, solid. Does it have the best villain? Probably not, but Rami Malek does a fine enough job for what he does for what's written. So
Yeah,
there you go.
I would agree with all of that. And to the film's credit, I think it actually gets even better rewatching it because I did not get like that moved. I ended up not going into it that much in our spoiler talk. So I mean, that's where you'll get all the meat and potatoes of our thoughts on No Time to Die, which I still hold to, but now I just like it even more. I rewatched it at home, and James Bond standing on the edge of oblivion with a stuffed bunny strapped to his belt. That's the most badass image of 2021. Like that's the coolest fucking thing ever. Like that's a man right there.
It's annihilated by nuclear weapons.
Well, no, they're regular weapons, but they're so bad. And it is fucking great. It is one of the better James Bond films. I think it's one of the films like Dune that handles spectacle really well. Like the action is like really great. Like some movies that I really loved this year, I was like not impressed by the action that much, which we'll talk about a little later. But I thought No Time to Die was like this is so good. It is still one of the most profitable films of the year too. And because of the delays, it's just interesting to think about like, yeah, it had to make $1 billion and it just didn't. So it will be written up as a loss, which is like so fascinating because it's like it was a success, but it wasn't a success in terms of like the weight.
Yeah.
Which is like weird because like so many people love this movie, rightfully so.
Yeah. A lot of fans.
Yeah.
And we'll just see the Amazon James Bond.
We'll see how that goes. Thank God the Broccolis are like, we won't do a spinoff. It's like, oh, good. But then this is like the one time where I see like the characters played by like Ana de Armas and like what's her she's fucking great. Lashana Lynch. Where I'm like, put them in a movie together. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to spin off the Bond either, but like if you gotta do it, right there, they're good to go. Because I really like those characters. But
exactly.
Yeah. No Time to Die. Go listen to our spoiler podcast. It's fun stuff there, and I've only gotten more positive on it. Let's just go to your number 4 then. We had the same number 5.
Yeah, I would go with In the Earth by the homie Ben Wheatley.
Yeah. Yes. By the homie Ben Wheatley. Not Wheatley, on my list, so go ahead.
Yeah. I just thought it was just such a unintentional encapsulation of COVID. The way the movie plays with I don't know, I mean, it comes out during a pandemic. We watch it during a pandemic, and it's just, you really related a lot to this, and just the story itself, I just found very captivating. I think you pointed out where it's just this white dude that's like captured two people of color, and he's just messing with them, and it was just such a well-crafted story, and it just felt very of its time. So got to really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's not on my list, but I would recommend that one too if you're like thrillers. I don't think it's I think it's a little tense for like if we're recommending like, oh yeah, like Dune, No Time to Die. Not that those movies don't have moments of like tenseness, but like I think it's a little more niche than those.
Yeah.
But definite still thumbs up, and I'm really looking forward to what Ben Wheatley does on the Meg 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not Tomb
that'll
Raider.
yeah, R.I.P. Tomb Raider
Yeah.
2. Can't win them all. But yeah, the Meg 2, looking forward to that. All right, my number 4, Titan. I love Titan, whatever it's pronounced as. It's
Yeah.
French. It's very French.
As a French too.
Yeah, it's very fucking French. Julia Ducournau is one of my favorite up and coming directors so far.
Mhm.
I love this. I love Raw. I love the short film she did called Junior, which is definitely the lightest thing she's ever done. Titan is pretty heavy. It's, I mean, I guess I could talk about it now. It's like about a serial killer who also might be dealing with issues of like body dysmorphia and understanding their identity and changing for like a love that they don't even realize that they need, and that for better or worse, like true love is like platonic or romantic, is something that's like it could be healing or dangerous.
Mhm.
And I think it's up to the viewer to determine which is which. I found it like very moving, and it has several of my favorite filmmaking instances of the year. I tweeted it out, but the little moment with all the firefighters just kind of vibing, it's like this moment of like masculinity where like you don't see that type of masculinity on screen very often. I think it's
No,
very
not
rare to see
really.
men just enjoy company in a way that's not like jokey or
Mhm.
uh just, I don't know, it's a very empathetic film, even for people that may not deserve it. But it's not about deserving, it's just about perspective. And that's the beauty of fiction, that you can do that. I love this movie. It should have been the one of the foreign best picture noms, and it wasn't. So go fuck yourself. No, I mean, yeah, go fuck yourself, but like it
Yeah,
should have
they
gotten
can.
nominated, I think.
They can.
That's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get into that. You're number 3, Gene. What do you got?
It was the Green Knight.
Oh yeah, something else not on my list. A great film. Also, we had
Right.
an episode on it, so go check that
Mhm.
out. But yeah, go ahead. Green Knight.
A Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Yes, and a shout out to Sarah Sorrentino who joined us on that episode.
Yeah, that was
Go,
fun.
yeah, go check out Film Cred. Thumbs up. But yeah, Green Knight. What'd you think?
Yeah, I
Again,
thought it was yeah, the Green Knight. I was very I was just satisfied with from beginning to end. Had some high expectations and it met and exceeded all of them. But just the story that David Lowery crafts, and hearing him talk about it on other podcasts and him describe the creative process and the editing in this movie, just it feels like such a masterpiece. And it's it was just fun to watch in a theater too. It was just looked great on that screen. You're missing something if you didn't see it. I believe it got re-released, so that's cool. And it's just the cinematography, everything about it just looks so impeccable, and I was just so impressed by it, and would love to make a movie like that. We could all aspire to. So that would, and then too, I'm just still thinking about it. It's a movie that makes you think, like some of the ambiguity of a lot of those of some of those scenes and storylines still has me thinking months later. So
yeah, again, another film that really leaves like a viewer interpretation up to it. I mean,
mhm,
you, Sarah, and I had very different perspectives and conversations about what we walked away from the film with, and that's
mhm.
totally intentional. I mean, it was that was a great viewing experience. That give it a couple weeks, that might swap out like Bad Trip or Old for me,
Yeah,
because like it was really good. Like that's definitely a top 15 to 20 situation for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Like if we should have done all honorable mentions, it would have been on there. Yeah, it's great. And Dev Patel is remarkable. Both he and the VFX, and in a perfect world, the director should have all been nominated, or at least been on the short list, because the short lists are out now. And I was kind of dumbfounded that the VFX weren't nominated. It's like, for the budget that they shot this for, I think it was a little more than they initially reported, but like still, it looks just unbelievable. It's another movie that handles spectacle very well. It's just a couple sequences with that, but it's really impressive. Number 3, it is Nobuhiko Obayashi's final film, The Labyrinth of Cinema, which I talked about a lot with Gene on a prior podcast. I stand by everything I said about it. It's a brilliant film. I sat through the entire 3 hours plus credits because I was so captivated by what I was watching on screen. I believe it's still available on Mubi, MUBI, which is also how I finally saw Kathy Yan's Dead Pigs. Don't know if that counts as a 2021 release. It's not on my top 10, but another movie I'd recommend. If you have Mubi, go check it out.
I'm gonna have to
Labyrinth
get
of
that
Cinema.
now.
Go watch everything by director Obayashi, because he was kind of the GOAT and never really took off besides House, which is great, which is a great movie. Make no mistake, but he's got a lot of stuff that's really just this fascinating mixture of art forms. So yeah, go watch it if you want to like feel elated, like, you know, the feeling after you watch like a truly great movie, you kind of head back out into the world and you're just like the world almost feels different a little bit, right? Like that's definitely, like, I just kind of wandered and took pictures of stuff after watching that, and I'd drive out to fucking Beverly Hills.
Had a fun drive.
Yeah, it was a hell of a drive. Yeah, Labyrinth of Cinema, fantastic. I can't talk enough about it. Let me make sure. I might read out one more response. Sure. Then we can do our top 2. At FluffyMan85, Brian K. Myers, hashtag trans rights or human rights. Absolutely. All right, the top 5: Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Number 4, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 3, The Suicide Squad. Number 2, The Mitchells versus the Machines. And number 1, The Green Knight. So there you go, Gene. More Green Knight love.
Yeah. And The Mitchells versus the Machines, I was very happy with as well.
Which I still need to watch. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm not perfect.
It's all right.
I don't claim to be perfect. I put on my pants one leg at a time like everyone else. All right. Number 2, Gene, what do you got? Let's fucking do this.
Godzilla versus Kong.
Damn.
Godzilla. Okay. Anything with that. What's not to love about this movie? Godzilla and Kong fight. It's probably edited to hell, but it's so entertaining, and seeing Godzilla just getting punched in the face by Kong and seeing these two titans fight each other on an aircraft in Hong Kong in the future. Fucking, it's amazing. I love this movie. Is it flawed? Yes. But everything about it just feels so perfect. Like Kong and Godzilla just teaming up to fight Mechagodzilla. Godzilla clearly winning against Kong, but Kong being kind of the hero of the movie because he gets to kill Mechagodzilla. Amazing. And yeah, there's not too much to say. That was probably the movie that I was most excited for this year, and look how it turned out.
Yeah, and if you remember, I was very worried about that. For the Kong movie, I didn't love. For the director, I don't love. Very pleasant surprise. Tons of fun. It is like the perfect way of describing that one. Yeah. Not my top one, not on my honorable mention, but it is very fun. And it is, yeah, I mean, that's like blockbuster entertainment. That was the first movie that kind of proved that people were still interested in the theater, you know? So it's like, shout out to Godzilla versus Kong for being the first movie to kind of swoop in and save Hollywood, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, put respect on its name.
Wasn't Tenet?
No, it was not Tenet, which is, it honestly might have had it been delayed a year though. Like, yeah, because people like Christopher Nolan, and that movie made bank for being in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, it would have saved his relationship with Warner Brothers for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he was happy with that rollout, is what I will say. All right, my number 2. It's Matrix Resurrections.
Yes.
Just did the retrospective on it. It's Matrix Resurrections. Is it a little rough around the edges, we could say? Sure. Is the action a little messy? Sure. Is that intentional? Yes. Does that make it okay? Also no. Which is what we talked about in the podcast. And I also want to shout out the Action for Everyone podcast with another one of our guests from this year, Liam O'Donnell, who is a co-host along with 2 of Action Film Twitter's best boys, Vice Victus and Mike and the Apocalypse. They talk about it in depth with the writer of Mandy, by the way, another beloved movie on this podcast, Aaron Stewart on, and they kind of break down different perspectives on what they thought worked, what they thought didn't. I am with Aaron Stewart on and Mike when they talk about it being one of the best movies of the year, if not their favorite movie of the year. I thought it was fantastic. I saw it at the Chinese theater. Shout out to this Chinese theater, by the way, for also having requiring vaccine cards, masks. Really, the vaccine card thing is a big deal because you couldn't even get close to the entrance without the vaccine thing. So that's how you do it. Good job. It was great. The perfect response to this film, from what I'm seeing on social media, was also encapsulated in the theater because people were like cheering when Trinity and Neo reunite. And then also some dudes were like, I want to go into the Matrix and wipe this movie from my memory. That's the entire spectrum of responses to this movie. It's like, you love it, you hate it. And then other people who silently walk out of the theater and don't talk about it anymore because they're normal. So I loved it. Yeah, we haven't talked about it yet, Gene, because we haven't seen each other in a while. But I thought it was fucking great.
Yeah, I was certainly, I enjoyed it as a nice like epilogue, I guess, to the original trilogy. Because this isn't going to start a new trilogy, it seems like, right?
No, Warner Brothers totally wants to do it. I mean, the movie openly has Lana Wachowski saying like, no, they were going to do it with or without us, but because I had a story I wanted to tell, I came back. And thankfully she did, because I think it's the most tender and loving of the Matrix films.
Yes, yeah.
Like the Matrix beforehand, not that it was wrong. I love the original trilogy now. I really had a great time revisiting those for the retrospective, but like this is definitely a huge love letter to the artists, I guess, you know, and the audience that needs it, you know, not the ones that kind of misconstruct it, which the film I think openly addresses very, very well. Is it your number 1, Gene?
No, but it's like an honorable mention.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I didn't want to like steal your thunder by talking about it too much.
All right, yeah. Yes, it was just, I really enjoyed the Matrix Resurrections for what it was. And I was very happy because I watched it at home. Wish I could have seen it in the theater, but with all the cases. And I really enjoyed Lana, her vision of this Matrix like 60 years in the future, and just seeing where all the characters were, seeing where the world was, and just revisiting Neo and Trinity one more time. It's just nice, I guess. It's like The Force Awakens, but better.
Yeah, I mean, it's openly like the Jessica Henwick character is Rey. It's just Rey from Star Wars, but not just Rey from Star Wars. It is also much more, and we love Rey. Rey's not the problem with that last Star Wars movie, as we've talked about. But like, I think Jessica Henwick, who was also almost Rey, by the way, she was one of the on the short list. I think Bugs is like my favorite new character in like the last 5 years. I love Bugs. I don't want Matrix sequels without the Wachowskis, but then I'm like, if someone came up to me and was like, let's do a Bugs trilogy spinoff, I'd be like, I'm not gonna fight you. Jessica Henwick was like born to be a star. She kicks ass in this movie. She's great. And not to give too much away, because I know it's a really recent release, but like her crew of like cyberpunk pals, I've always wanted to see that in like a big science fiction movie. So for me, that was like perfect. Like when I walked out of the movie, I was like, it was perfect. It's not. And I was like, it's the best movie ever made. It's also not. but that's like how I felt so like elated. I was so excited, and it's packed with ideas that like every Wachowski sisters project will take like a decade to fully unpack. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was quite happy, and I hope the Wachowski sisters don't stay gone too long. I'm curious if they'll work again, because I know they're working on different stuff now.
Hmm.
Warner Brothers has also openly said that they will work with Lana Wachowski again for Matrix or otherwise. So
Looking
thumbs
forward
up.
to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yay. All right. Number one, unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, no, I could just go to my number one for sure.
All right, let's fucking do it. Number one, what do you got?
Licorice Pizza.
Damn, haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to go to bat for that. Yeah, I just thought that was a movie where it's just vibes, I guess.
Okay.
Someone's texting me, I don't like the plot, but it's like it's not really about the plot. It's just these two characters, I guess kind of falling in love with each other. I mean, there's a gap in their ages, but it's a very innocent sort of love, and the two actors, it's like Copper Hoffman and Elena Haim, are just really like stellar in these roles, and like you really like root for them as people to like get over a lot of their like problems, and like the hijinks that they get into is just like, it's just that like these two like kids just like making it through just the time period of the 70s, having John Peters attack them. He's like a horror movie character in his little segment. John Peters, the crazy producer that is wanting spiders and Superman. Amazing. They mess up his waterbed. They're just hijinks, having like a waterbed store. Benny Safdie's character. He's like
Benny Safdie. He's
Safdie,
in
yeah, he's in it. Yeah,
it. Okay.
plays a politician, plays Joel Wachs. Who and these are all like, these aren't fictional people that they're into. These are people that actually like existed and were around. And just seeing this time period in the Valley, and Paul Thomas Anderson's probably his most personal movie. And I fell in love with it. I just liked and just like vibing with these two characters for like 2.5 hours. So
Yeah, that's interesting, because like I think Paul Thomas Anderson, like I don't know if you ever read any of his scripts that are available online.
I haven't. Should probably correct that.
They're weird.
Yeah.
And I think it's only when you watch like his movies do you really get like a grasp of what he's going for, where it's like it's not always structured through like traditional like plot stuff, which is probably why people have like a weird response to like this or Inherent Vice. Although people seem to love like Phantom Thread unanimously, which I agree with. I love Phantom Thread, but like yeah, I don't know. That's interesting that you bring that up, because I think that's really his strength. He really gets you invested in like the characters and like the emotion of his stories. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. That trailer is fucking killer.
I love that trailer.
So we were geeking out about that like when it dropped. So yeah.
Starman, can't go wrong there.
Yeah. It's great to hear. It's all of his stuff kind of gets like near unanimous buzz. So I'm looking forward to it eventually. Again, eventually. I don't know when I'm going to go back to the theater for a while, but
yeah,
hopefully cases start dropping and stuff. And
yeah, well, hopefully, yeah. Want to see yours though. What's your number one?
Yeah, number one. I literally just saw it yesterday. West Side Story. West Side Story is the movie that Spielberg has, like, I mean, he's been dying to make it, but I think he was born to make it. The original West Side Story is like a monumental film for me. It's the movie that really got me to fall in love with musicals at a young age. I think it's like one of the best examples of like Technicolor and like CinemaScope. I think it's like one of the best looking movies ever. The choreography is like maybe still undefeated. Sorry, Spielberg.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna remake West Side Story, the only way you get me on board is with someone like fucking Steven Spielberg. And from like the opening shot of the movie, I was like, holy fuck, he did it. And that feeling never let up. I think this is one of the best directed movies ever. Like across time. um that might just be me riding a high because I've only seen it once, but like it just immediately skyrocketed there. So it's been a very good 2 weeks for me, is what I'm saying at the
Yeah.
movies. But like
Way to
I
go
think
up.
West Side Story is yeah, I mean, there's the dark cloud in the front of the film
Yeah,
with
won't be named.
Ansel Elgort, an alleged monster man, who I get that being a deal breaker for some people. That's a very real thing. The the film just you can't predict, and I understand why he wasn't recast, because it's harder to recast for a musical that takes months and months of pre-production and planning versus Christopher Plummer and all the money in the world.
Mhm.
So I
Difference
understand
there.
why that wasn't reshot. It doesn't make it any better.
Mhm.
I will say he's not untalented. It is still very unfortunate that he's in the movie. Now, I was able to look past that. That doesn't mean I'm right. It just means I was able to, and I did not think it affected the film. If someone else thought that affected the film, I will completely understand. But I do think it's undeniable that Spielberg is like kind of the star of this movie.
Yeah,
he
basically.
is just doing some shit where I'm just like, fuck, man. I think I tweeted it out. Like, my review of it was like, I feel like I woke up from the Matrix and I realized that every musical of the last 20 years was fake. I completely stand by that comment.
Mhm.
I love La La Land. I still like La La Land a lot.
Mhm.
Worthless
Yeah, compared to
film.
Spielberg.
That's not true. But like, God, these dance numbers are great. I really love the restructuring of some of the musical numbers because I love West Side Story so much.
Yeah,
So like,
you're a
cool
real
how
nerd
it
about
happens
it.
before the fight now instead of after the fight, because it's trying to like tone down the anxiety and the violence. So like the cultural like tension just builds constantly instead of like letting the audience kind of ruminate on anything like that, and it just never stops. And it's like it's almost paced like a thriller, but it's just great romance, mostly because of Rachel Zegler's breakout performance, who's gotten like
Mhm.
a lot of publicity on Twitter for being like a very fun Twitter follow. She's very funny. If you want like a good laugh,
Oh,
follow
all
her
right.
on Twitter. She's hysterical. But she's also, I mean, this is like a Star is Born moment. It is absolutely like someone just knocking the doors down and announcing their arrival to Hollywood. Ariana DeBose, who I was not familiar with before this, she plays Nita in this version,
Mhm.
is also incredible and deals with some pretty harsh material, frankly.
Yeah.
And she she fucking kills in this too. I think her and Rachel Zegler are the standouts, along with David Alvarez, who
Mhm.
I really liked as Bernardo in this version.
Yeah, he's great. I was gonna say Rita Moreno is also a great character and a great character actor in this movie as well.
Yeah, it's really great that they brought her back. And
Yeah,
I like how it's like she's not just a Doc replacement. It's like, let's do something
right.
different with that character now, and like let's adapt it differently. Because I mean,
Mhm.
when you adapt like Romeo and Juliet, because West Side Story is Romeo and Juliet with more
Basically,
insight into different cultures
right.
and economic issues, which are touched upon in the original film. Specifically, the race stuff is the big draw, and this one really has this lingering weight of like gentrification over the entire proceedings, and how like, I mean, it's not like a mind-blowing thing, but it is like nice to see movies address it, where it's like cultural like wars between different communities are kind of obviously bullshit, and especially like in the sights of what's actually like happening in the world around us,
Yeah,
you know. And
yeah.
it's like, yeah, none of this means anything, and the culmination of that is really heartbreaking. And I wonder what this was like watching at Lincoln Center, because it did have a premiere there, because the opening of this film is about the building of the Lincoln Center in New
Mhm.
York City. So it's like, that's like shocking to me, you know, like that happened. But
Yeah,
like Spielberg is kind of like a traditional Hollywood neoliberal, right? Like he's not like a hardcore left-wing guy, he's not a hardcore right-wing guy. He's kind of just like, why don't we all get along?
yeah,
And that's fine, because he's not the president of the fucking United States. He's an
right.
artist. But this one definitely has more of a left-wing twist to it. Almost, I won't say twist, that's weird.
Yeah, I would
But
say
like,
so.
yeah, it was I don't know. I could gush about it forever. I think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen, especially in the theater. I can't wait to watch it for the rest of my life. And spoilers for Happy Amblin, I guess, all this, but I think it's like top 5 Spielberg. I was really wowed by it, and it was definitely one of my most anticipated of the year. But like, I remember geeking out about this with like one of our mutual buddies, also a filmmaker in their own right, Kyle Thor, and because we were like having a disagreement about some other musical I can't remember, but I do remember us being like, but West Side Story, that's going to be the shit. That was like in 2018. So it's great to finally see it realized and have it blow away my expectations. And shout out to Janusz Kaminski, cinematographer that Spielberg works with all the time now. I don't think him and Spielberg always get like the right match for their productions. I think this was like, for this West Side Story, perfect.
The look of it is incredible. And then they're fighting in this like crumbling neighborhood. Amazing.
Yeah, it's great. And you know, like, I love the Technicolor look of the original. That's not what this one's going for. Because I remember like a lot of the discourse starting when like, oh, everything looks so gray and beige, and it's like, I kind of agreed with that back then. I was like,
yeah, oh, I like that aesthetic for sure.
And now it totally works, because it's not like there's a difference between shit looking like concrete on accident because it didn't color grade the footage. This is very much like a drab realization of like a broken American dream. You know? Basically. And shout out to Stephen Sondheim, the creator of this original musical, who, you know, since passed away this month.
You gotta watch a screener of it. I'm told.
Yeah. I mean, him and Spielberg worked together like on this too. Like Sondheim was part of the process, not like super hands-on or anything, because he was an older guy. God rest his soul, but like he was involved. Spielberg clearly respected him, I think. And I could talk about this movie forever. I will talk about it forever when we get to Happy
no,
Amblin.
you will. You can.
Yeah, I will. I mean, we talked about the Matrix sequels for like 5 fucking hours. What the fuck am I gonna do with West Side Story? Number 1, it's the best. Everyone watch West Side Story, unless you genuinely can't stand to look at Ansel Elgort, in which case, again, completely understand, because fuck that guy.
Obviously, yeah.
I think that's it then. Shout out to co-writer or writer Tony Kushner, who, whenever he works with Spielberg, just makes bangers, because they made Lincoln and Munich together. So maybe they'll get like a best adapted screenplay for this one.
Maybe.
This was great. Good top 10. Thank you everyone for responding to the tweets too.
Thank you. That was got a lot of notifications there. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Gene, any final thoughts before we head off into the new year?
Hopefully 2022, less COVID, don't have to worry about that, and more people get vaccinated so we could go to the movies more and not worry. So, but a good year for the films that we did see in the theaters this year.
Yeah, I would like to see Scream in a theater without fearing for my life. That would be nice to do that.
Yeah, they need to fear for the life on the screen, not in the audience. But stay healthy though, please. Any listeners out there?
Yeah, stay healthy. Maybe avoid large crowds for a little bit. Hospitalizations are thankfully not rising to the extent of cases, but just be careful. Doesn't, the vaccine is supposed to stop you from being hospitalized, which it is. Maybe listen to that. That's not made up. That's real. If you're someone who says I need to do my own research, shut up. Sorry, you're not smarter than a doctor. At least most of the doctors. But just take care of yourself. Follow the science. Maybe ignore the CDC on the one thing about the 5-day isolation instead of 10 days. That's like the one thing I would recommend. That's ridiculous. Maybe call your representatives too and let them know that you're very upset about all this bullshit, and get your voices heard. But good movie year. Otherwise, good talk. We'll be back next year with a bunch of fun guests. Gene and I got some ideas we'll be talking about, and that's it. Gene, where can the people find you?
Twitter and Instagram, Gene9892.
You can follow me at the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon. You can get some early access to at least one retrospective coming up. So keep that in mind. If not the time of this recording, later in the day of the recording. So don't tell anyone what it is either if you listen to it, because it's a fun one. Yeah, I guess that's it. Also keep an eye out on the YouTube page, which might have a fun surprise in the first week of January 2022.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We've been professionally unprofessional.